Check, 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 check. Okay, lining this up is gonna be awful, but we're just gonna go with this. Some coffee. Today, I'm gonna be looking at snare drum. This is gonna be probably a series of little videos. Finally, I've got a nice little recording set up at work. Very blessed. So let's just dive right into it. Been getting a lot of questions. So here we go. Okay, so there's a lot going on, so let's just dive into just the snare drum. So here we go. There was a weird clipping thing. These aren't my stems. Shout out Gabe Ramos for sending me some stems. But there was a weird clipping going on the bottom mic, so that's probably what you're hearing. No, the mix isn't clipping. It's fine. So let's dive into it. So snare top. I use auto align on all my drums just because it's just a safeguard, just a little net to time align if there's any like latency issues or anything, especially on a live recording, that can sometimes phase can be an issue. But so auto align, let's turn everything off and let's just hear the snare by itself. Okay, so Gabe's a hard hitter, obviously, a lot of cymbal bleed, nothing against him. That's just, you're playing live, that's what happens. So first in the chain is silencer. I love silencer. Silencer is amazing. I mean, yeah, let's just hear it before and after. Yeah, and I'm gaining it down quite a bit in silencer, but I mean, that's just crazy, right? So after that, we're gonna go into SSL. I use SSL pretty much on all of my drums, so that's gonna be a common factor in all my drum tones. So here we go. Obviously, the gate is really tight just because of the nature of the recording, obviously, but we're kind of about 60. Nice little healthy boost of like around 6K, taking out a little bit of that body, 600, and then finding like 1K, having a little bit of a weird frequency, it works. So you can really hear this a lot better. I usually do this without the silencer on. And obviously all of the compression and whatnot. So yeah, you can really hear that now. Just taking that out. This is a little trick I learned a long time ago, but I really like using the compressor on infinity. I don't know why, I just do. I'm gonna turn my gate back on. Yeah, and a cool trick, I go from that into the API 2500. A lot of API on drums. It's just nice and warm, saturates a little bit. So here's off. I learned this from Corey Awards. I saw him use this live and tried it on some remote stuff, so I liked it. So here we go, out without, and then with. So it raises the top end and the lows a little bit, and then obviously it's saturating. And then we have saturator on top of that. This is the best, probably, like saturator I've ever used, and it's free, so I love it. People love Decapitator. The black box is really good, but I've just used Soft Tube for so long, and it's kind of what I like. So Let's dive into the reverb. For reverb, I'm using this vintage Valhalla verb. Nothing crazy. I use presets on reverb because I'm not a snob and I like what I like, so. So obviously adding a lot to the snare drum there. So snare bottom, this is where you're gonna be hearing a lot of that there like weird clicking I had in the mix. It's just from the microphone, maybe something was clipping it or something or whatever, but it's just the mic by itself. You can hear that clipping. I just tried to use silencer on it to get it out, but I actually don't like how silencer sounds on the bottom snare drum because you lose a lot of your ghost notes. For the top, that's not as bad because you have your overheads, but for the bottom, I think it's pretty important. So this is no compression, no EQ, and then yours. Making just same drum moves that I make on the top, a little bit different. Slightly. 2K, I mean, it's to taste. Everything is to taste. I am boosting a little bit of body on the bottom. And then I'm using fast attack on the release here, which makes it sound completely different. Smooths it out a little bit. And then making sure you flip your face on your bottom snare mic. It's pretty important. And then for samples, I am blending a sample in just because I wanted to fill more of that snare frequency for that range. So using Ish Melton's pack, rest in peace, Perks Live, but their Drum Essentials Volume 1. I don't use Slate because I don't have $120 to drop on Slate because I'm broke. So I just use Logic's MIDI, which works just fine for me. Hear that in context with the whole kit. Doing quite a bit on the drum bus, but that's definitely for another video, but kind of the same plugins and everything, just a couple different moves. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on all the mastering because that kind of glues the whole kit together again. This sounds great. Drums sound awesome, sit really well in the mix, but let me turn on my mastering chain again. And really glues everything together. I'll put the room mics in from the service as well. Yeah, and then let's hear that in context with the whole mix. Sweet. That is snare drum, made kind of simple and kind of fast. Yeah, I'll make other videos on kind of everything else, but that's snare drum, so.